live. So Barry, when I saw Ryan, so I see him, he's all bundled up like Pacific Northwest. But Barry, I don't know where you are. I'm in Charlotte. I woke up, it was 20s. This is my first winter down in Charlotte, and I feel like I'm in Jersey. So
yeah.
I'm like all buttoned up, like ready to roll. I don't know where you are. Are you Jersey? Are you Florida?
Florida right now. I'm going to Jersey tomorrow.
Okay, so you're going to be in Jersey for Thanksgiving. And then, all right, so Friday I go to Florida, and I just looked, it's 80 degrees in Miami.
Wait, where are you going to be Friday in Florida?
I'll be in Miami. So
for how long?
We're going to come down and go Friday to Monday. So if you're around,
I'd love to see you.
Yeah, because I might go up and see Maxwell up in West Palm. So
he's right here in West Palm?
Yeah. So he lives in Jupiter, but his house, so he goes to West Palm, and then I meet him at the Breakers for breakfast all the time.
Oh my God, will you let me know? We'll go to breakfast. We'll go to breakfast at Breakers.
Yeah, that would be a good spot. Ryan, this is a hotel. If you got out to West Palm, like that is the spot. It's just one of the most beautiful hotels, buildings.
I'll take you guys to Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, I'll fly down for that.
Come on, anytime. I was just there when he announced. It was really cool.
Yeah. Jake's already getting FOMO. He's not invited to the Breakers. So
Jake, you do not need an invite. You have an open invite, bro. Anytime, your family.
Yeah. So hey, maybe if you take us to Mar-a-Lago, maybe we can get some documents, pick up some top secret documents.
Yeah, that's the idea. That's what I try and do. They keep them by the pool, so it's easy.
It's right by your towel.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Good.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Well, listen, guys, it's 1:33. We're gonna get this rocking. I know we got a lot more people. We'll be jumping on board, but man, just here we go. We see there we go. Hey, do me a favor, everybody in the chat. Just do me a favor. Put in where you're logging in from. It's always good to see people from around the
West
country.
Coast represent.
Yep. So there we go. So hey, great to be with you guys. Great to be with Barry. Ryan, I don't know what happened, but Barry just froze on us. So.
No, he's still there.
Oh,
he's
okay.
Just went for a drink of water. That's all.
All right, good. So, hey, just really excited to be here. Barry, as you can see, man, look at this. Look at it. This is how we roll. We have a lot of guests that we invited as well, just besides movement team members, some potential future movement team members as well. But guys, I always love doing this with Barry. We always break the record when we have Barry on here. And it was really 2 weeks ago. Barry didn't know I was in the West Coast and I was traveling. And I think like 4:30 in the morning, my phone rings and I'm like, hey, what's up? And I had to pick it up. And he says, brother, I got to get with your team. I got to talk to him about the strategies, the market, what to be prepared for. He goes, this is a great follow-up from our meeting when I told you what was going to happen in the fourth quarter. And sure enough, Barry, man, it started hitting like you were talking about. But then you talked to me about the 2-1 buy-down strategy, just opportunities. Like, hey, your team can absolutely dominate with these tools and these resources that we have. And let me come on and help them. They need to be prepared for the market. This is your time to seize the opportunity. So always love when Barry comes on. So of course, I called the team. I said, hey, let's set up the call. And we got some special stuff we're going to share at the end. But I know Barry is going to bring the heat today. But Ryan, man, there's no better person to moderate and host this than you. I know your relationship. I love when you and Barry do your information. You guys go on your podcast and you put this out to the team. Yeah. I always hear this incredible feedback saying, hey, Ryan was just with Barry. You got to get him in with the organization. So you know what? No better person than you, Ryan, to handle this. So I'm going to hand it over to you. Welcome in the team. And then I'll let you queue up Barry.
Appreciate that, guys. If you missed the RE Source this week, it was so well received, Barry, that we're rolling it a second week in a row. That was 24 minutes of a deep dive with Barry and I. Good news is we get to go even deeper today and spend more time together. And Barry's going to show you exactly how to thrive right now. Not tomorrow, not in a month, not in 2 months, but right now, how to get the rate that you want, take advantage of a price reduction, put it to work, get your pencils out, guys. You're going to learn a lot. And doesn't matter that rates are high and volume slow. Barry's going to give you the blueprint to go thrive right now. I'm really excited. He's going to go fast. So we'll get the recording out later. And then we're going to do some Q&A at the end. So hold the questions until the end, but I'll be moderating that. Barry, coming in hot. You got 55 minutes. Let's roll, bud.
All right. So team, I really appreciate you spending time with me today. I'm very excited to chat with you guys. This is, my movement teammates, my family. I love you guys. You know that, Casey, Mike, Jake, love the team there. And Ryan and I have always, been close. We put out a show on Ryan's amazing platform. And, we kind of wanted to rehash because we had kind of outlined a lot of things with you guys as to what was going to happen. We told you it was going to be a brutal summer. We said rates were going to go up. Sure enough, they did. But then we said November 10th, back in June, we told you November 10th is the day that things start getting better. Sure enough, like clockwork, right on that day. I want to make it so that you can make these calls and you understand why. So that's what today's about. Today's about you. Today's about you understanding this. I'm going to take you places that nobody else is going to take you. It's very deep. But I promise you, you'll understand it. And I promise you, not only will you understand it, but if you pay close attention, take some notes, you're going to be able to explain it. And you be that guiding light for people. You're going to be the resource that they need. Think of it is that just like you, I've got one of these darn things that this does not frickin' stop. Okay. Just like you. Let the world turn without you for the next 55 minutes. Okay. Just stay engaged, because if you're going to be back and forth with this, and I know you think it's important, this and that, barring an emergency, let the damn thing sit, because you have to be engaged to get this. Okay. I'm going to take you deep, but not over your head. But if you're not focused, it won't make sense to you. And I promise you 55 minutes from now, you're going to be really, really happy that you did. Look, I know that you're losing transactions right now to maybe somebody who's got a better 0-point deal. I want to show you how you can win, how you can get those transactions back. If only you can get your customer to pay points, they're going to be begging to pay points because they don't have to pay them. We're going to get the seller to pay them. I will show you how to win in this market. So here we go. First things first, real estate. Is it a bubble? Are rates going to 10% like Patrick Bet David says? Are we going to crash like Gary Vee says, don't buy a home? Like Diana Olick's been saying for the last 8 years that there's a housing bubble. Like Grant Cardone is telling you, you'd be a sucker to buy a home. Are those people right? What are they trying to do? What's their agenda? What's the facts? What is really going on in this market? Because your customer's scared. Heck, you know what? You might even be scared. You might be worried about where things are headed right now. I want to tell you that there's good news ahead, but I'm not just going to tell you. I'm going to show you step by step. So here we go. First and foremost, the basics. Housing is going to be driven a lot by where interest rates are. Who controls interest rates? Is it the Fed? No. We've seen rates come down 0.5% the same week the Fed hiked 75 basis points. It's because mortgage rates are driven by inflation. I've gone over these examples with you before. I showed you the example. If you gave me a mortgage, well, every month you get a fixed payment. Over time, the buying power erodes. Even though it says that you're getting that fixed payment of, let's call it $2,000 a month, what happens? Because inflation causes prices to rise, it doesn't go that far. It says $2,000, just doesn't feel like $2,000 used to, or buy what $2,000 used to buy. When inflation is very low, you can offer a low interest rate because that erosion is very low. But as inflation rises, your only defense is to charge a higher rate to offset that erosion. Let me show you how this works in real time. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. We've got some slides, but right now, this is the opportunity you've been waiting for in housing. I told you about inflation and rates. Look at the bottom line. That's inflation in pink. The blue line is mortgage rates in blue. Inflation goes up 1%, mortgage rates go up 1%. Inflation comes down 3/4, mortgage rates come down more than 1%. Inflation goes flat, mortgage rates go flat. Inflation bumps up, mortgage rates bump up. Then we got the double whammy. We got the recession followed by COVID. Oh my goodness. So the Fed panics. What do? They buy the mortgage market. See this 3% line right here? They kept mortgage rates with something called quantitative easing, or QE, right around 3% for this whole time. Now, inflation was very low in the beginning, so that's okay. But inflation started to go up. What did the Fed say? The Fed said, you know what? Don't worry about inflation. It's transitory. They then later have admitted to us not too long ago how little they understand about inflation. They don't understand it. They admitted that from the Fed chair's lips himself. So inflation is something you have to watch out for, because kind of like, God forbid that somebody has an infection. If that infection is treated quickly, maybe with some antibiotics, you'll be okay. But if it's left unchecked, the infection can get so bad that you need drastic action. And that's what the Fed let happen to inflation. They could have had a couple of rate hikes here. They could have stopped QE here, and we would not have the problem that we have today with inflation. So because they let it go out of hand and they finally woke up and stopped QE at this point in time, then mortgage rates now had to contend with much higher inflation. And what did they do? Once the Fed stopped fixing the market at 3% and they let it go on its own, mortgage rates did what they always do. They followed inflation. And as inflation went up, mortgage rates went up. Then inflation started to come down a little bit over the spring. Mortgage rates came down. Then inflation moved up and mortgage rates shot up. And then on November 10th, inflation came down and mortgage rates came down. The same day the same week, rather, that the Fed hiked rates 75 basis points, mortgage rates dropped to 0.5%. Why? Because inflation came down. So what is inflation anyway? It's too many dollars chasing too few goods. Too much money. For all the money that's out there, every $17, 16 of it's credit. So our country runs on credit. If you have too many buyers, too much money, chasing too little goods, they're going to bid the price higher. Think about toilet paper during COVID. Think about home prices when rates were low. Too much money out there, chasing too few goods. So here comes the Fed. What's the Fed going to do? They can't control mortgage rates, but what can they do? They can control short-term rates. So if you have a business that's going to build a factory for $500 million, think about all that money. They got to borrow it. When they could have borrowed it at 2%, yeah, maybe it makes sense. But now it's 6% on its way to 7%. They can't afford to do that, or the economics don't make sense. So they never borrow that $500 million, which when you think about it, that $500 million, poof, it's created out of thin air. Think about a family going to go buy a car. 9 months ago, they look at a car, they like it. They could sign a piece of paper and drive off because the payment's cheap. It's $600 a month. So they say, yeah, we'll do it. But they never spent any money out of their pocket that day. But yet $60,000 was created and given to the dealership. How was it created? Somebody at a bank made a couple of keystrokes and boom, poof, $60,000 created out of thin air. Today, if that family goes to do it today instead, well, they see that $60,000 car, but now the payment's not $600, the payment's $1,000 a month. And that family says, well, maybe, you know what? Maybe I will drive the car I'm driving a little bit longer. So no keystroke entries made, no poof, no $60,000 created out of thin air. So this is what the Fed's trying to do. It's called demand destruction. By increasing short-term rates, less people borrow money. So Fed hikes are slowing the money part of this. But now you also have the ability to save. 8 months ago, you couldn't get a rate of savings, so people spent it instead of saving. Today, you can get like 5% on a 6 month, a 1 year, 2 year treasury. So people say, hey, you know what? Maybe instead of spending it, I'll save it. And this is what the Fed wants to do, take money out. Plus, supply chain has improved. We're seeing supplies come back. We had two real dings, our supply chain, and then the COVID, no COVID policy in China shut down all the exports. Here it is in action. Inventories at stores. We're building a little bit, but then we had the recession and we had COVID. So boom, inventories dropped because no supply chain. Then we started to get supply chain back, and then China, no COVID policy, they shut down. But now inventories are not just back, they're overstocked. When you have too much inventory, what happens? They put it on sale. On sale means prices come down. That's less inflation on the horizon for us. So here's the chart that I showed you. I showed you this chart several times in the past couple of years, and this is how we've been able to guide you through where interest rates are going, because this tells you inflation and inflation guides interest rates. So this is the core CPI number. We look at core as opposed to the headline because it takes out food and energy. Why do we take out food and energy prices? Because when the Fed looks at it, they know that if OPEC cuts or raises production, if weather conditions cause food prices to get better or worse, they can hike or cut all they want. They can't influence that. So core is what the Fed can influence, they believe. So right now, that's 6.3% year over year. How do you get there? You take the last 12 months inflation readings and add them up, which means in the reading, you've got old stuff in here weighing it down and where the market is today. So there's real time and there's all the old stuff. That's why it lags, because it includes 12-month-old data. It's got data in there from November 21 equaling the same weight as October of 22. So if you added up all the 12 months, account for a little rounding and compounding, that's how you get to the 6.3%. So why did the market go crazy and love what happened November 10th? And why did we know it was going to happen? Well, November 10th, we got the October data for 2022. We felt by October, with the no COVID policy in China, with our supply chains, that inventories were going to build and we would get some reductions in price. We also felt that finally our economy would slow down, because remember, the Fed didn't really get serious until June 15th with that 75 basis point hike. It takes time for that to filter through the system. We felt from June to October, we'd start to see the effects of those Fed rate hikes, and we did. But here's the big one. When we got the data on November 10th for the month of October 2022, what did it replace? It replaced 2021. And the data in 2021 was elevated. It was higher. So you got 0.3 replacing 0.6. That made the year over year number go from 6.6 to 6.3, and mortgage bonds were up 200 basis points on the day, just like we had planned. Remember back in June, everybody was saying inflation's peaked, but I kept saying, no, no, no. I told you guys we're in for a brutal summer. We used the song on our update, Cruel, Cruel Summer. We told you that this was going to happen. How did we know? I was on with Ryan on his show talking about it. And Ryan, what did we say? Everybody's saying inflation peaked because it came in for June at 0.7, replacing 0.8, and inflation dropped year over year. But oh, it's peaked. But they don't understand how inflation works. We knew it was going to get worse because why? A, we didn't think the economy was ready to cool down at that point, or the goods were going to be flowing back from China yet. So we knew that there was inflationary pressures. But what we also saw was, look at the numbers for 2021. July, August, and September. Everybody take a look at that. That was very what? You should be saying very low for 2021. So we thought you'd be replacing them with higher numbers for 2022. And we thought over the summer inflation would go up, and it did. It went from the mid-5s to mid-6s, and you know what happened to your rate sheet. Mortgage rates in those two months went up over 1%. And that's why the market sucked for us. But now the good news comes, because now we will get a steady diet of lower inflation numbers, replacing inflation numbers that were higher in 2021 and early 2022. By the first half of next year, rates are going down. But let me tell you when it starts to accelerate in its decline. Watch this. When we take a look at shelter costs, the cost of putting a roof over your head, it represents 39% of core CPI, 39.3 if you want to be exact. But look at what's happening in real time. They're decelerating. But if you will look at the way that it's measured in CPI, it's measured on an overall yearly basis. So you're counting a lot of this upswing in there. It's kind of like, remember when you were a kid, you go on a roller coaster. Well, I still go on roller coasters. So you go on a roller coaster, that first big hill goes to the top. There comes a point in time where the front of the roller coaster is heading lower and the back of the roller coaster is still going up, kind of like this. In real life, what you're seeing is shelter costs are coming down. But according to CPI, it's got them going up. Once you hit January, all the roller coaster now is heading down. You will get faster CPI number declines. But remember, there's always a delay, right? From January, so this comes out in February. So starting February, not only will they come down, but they'll come down faster, because right now, 40% of that CPI number is being pushed up. The rest of it's pushing it down. The other 60% is pushing it down. Wait till we get 100% of it pushing down, and you will get much, much lower CPI. We're already seeing the money supply. First time in 18 years that money supply is declining 5 months in a row. It will continue to decline. That's less inflation. Here's the big one I want you to understand. This is critical, because this brings us to why mortgage rates are going to go to 5%. Historically, the difference between the 10-year treasury on the bottom and mortgage rates on the top, we pulled up 35 years worth of data. You will find a normal spread of about 175 to 200 basis points. That's like 1.75% to 2%. So that means, figure this, if the 10-year treasury is like at 4, mortgage rates are at 6. If the 10-year treasury is at 2, mortgage rates are at 4, just as a rule of thumb, right? So why is that not the case now? The 10-year treasury, let's call it 4, mortgage rates, let's call them 7. That's not 200 basis points. That's 300 basis points. Never happened before. All these red arrows are of the same length. So you can see it's not day to day, but it's consistent that it's a reasonable spread. It won't go like one day to another. It's going to fluctuate, but it won't fluctuate that much, okay? So when you have this huge spread, what is the reason for that? Here's why, and here's what no one is talking about. Part of a mortgage is value. We all know this. The greater the value of a mortgage, the lower the rate, right? As a bond price goes up, the yield comes down. Well, if the bond price goes down, the yield goes up, right? We all know this as the basics of bonds. Part of the value of a mortgage is the servicing value. We can go in deeper at another time, and I'll explain to you how mortgages work. And those of you that are at CMA, you know about the circle of life and where mortgage money comes from. But let's just go to the chase here. All mortgages have to be sold because of interest rate risk. When you sell a mortgage, as it goes through the cycle, something that's part of the value of it is servicing, because while nobody holds that mortgage, it gets sold into a mortgage-backed security, somebody still has to do the work of collecting the mortgage payments, paying the real estate taxes, paying the insurance, telling you what your balance is, answering your questions, tracking you down if you're late. Somebody's got to do that work. That's called a servicer, because they're servicing the mortgage. For that, they get a fee. They receive money to do that job. Well, when they receive the money to do that job, that's a value that goes into the mortgage. Well, how much is that value worth? It depends. If that mortgage is going to be assumed to be held for a long time, if people are thinking, well, that mortgage should be around for 6 years, well, then you're going to get that servicing fee for 6 years. That's a big value that goes into the mortgage. But today, that's been sucked out of the mortgage value. Essentially zero value for that. Why? Why? Because the smartest money in the world is saying that at 7%, This servicing is not measured in years. It's measured in months because everybody's going to refinance in the next 6 months. So therefore, you're only going to collect that fee for a very short period of time. So that whole value of it that used to be worth so much, it's worth nothing. They sucked it all out. And when that gets sucked out of the prices goes down. And when the price goes down, the yield goes up. And that's why you're 300 basis points above normal. Now, wait a second. Inflation is going to come down. I just showed you that. And as inflation goes down, we know mortgage rates, 10-year treasuries, they follow inflation. So as inflation comes down, the 10-year treasury comes down. Now, look, when we were at 4.3, I was saying I think the 10-year treasury is going to 2.5 to 3%. Everybody thought it was nuts. Well, we're already at 3.7, right? So we've already come down a lot. So it's not going to be that big of a deal to get down to 3. Over the next few months, we get down to 3%. Mortgage rates come down faster because as you get towards 6 on mortgage rates, you add more servicing because you're going to keep a 6% loan longer than a 7. You're going to keep a 5 longer than a 6. So you start adding more value the lower you go in rates because then it's presumed that you're going to hold that mortgage longer, more of a stream of revenue from servicing. So now what do you get? You get the 10-year treasury to go down to 3, which it will. Let's look at history. When the 10-year treasury is at 3, where are mortgage rates? Around 5. 3, below 5. Around 3, around 5. You're going to see rates around 5 or less in the first half of next year. And when you do, your world's about to change. You're going to unleash a horde of buyers that can afford to buy at 5% that are hibernating right now at 7. Look, you're going to also have a recession. It's going to drive rates down. We know Fed rate hikes. Here's the last 70 years. Every time they do Fed rate hikes, it leads us into the shaded areas with the recessions. Here's where we are now. These guys at the Fed have never run a lemonade stand. They've never had a newspaper out. They live in the world of make-believe. They have always been lifelong government people who also have been teachers or government people. They don't know what the real world is like, and they're making the price of the most important commodity in the world. That's the price of money. The reason they screw it up so often is because they look at old data and they make policy today that they're not patient enough to look at what it's going to do in the future. It takes time for these things to hit, but they continue to hammer it. You listen to every one of these idiots out there. They're all saying the same stupid song. They're all saying, well, we haven't seen inflation come out significantly. Well, that's because you're looking at old data. If you drive your car 80 miles an hour down the highway, but you only look in the rearview mirror, chances are you're going to crash. And that's what they do to the economy every time they crash it. And this will be no exception. We will have a crash. These guys at the Fed, like Fed Governor Chris Wallace, how are we going to have a recession? The unemployment rate's so low. It's 3.5%. Well, since then, it's gone to 3.7. And that's exactly when you get a recession. When the unemployment rate, not when it's high, when it gets to its lowest level and starts to turn up. Here's the last 80 years. Look, unemployment rate hits its lowest level, starts to turn up, recession. Again. Every time, here's where we are. You don't need to be a mathematician to know where we're headed. Okay, so now why does this happen? If the economy's really good, things are good, I got to hire people. I need help. So you're on the unemployment rate, I'm hiring you. So unemployment rates go down, until the economy slows down like it is right now. And then you start letting people go. Look at all the layoffs you're seeing on all these tech companies. It's happening all over. Because as soon as you slow down, you got to let people go. When you let people go, that ticks up the unemployment rate, just like it ticked up from 3.5 to 3.7 in the last report. As the unemployment rate ticks up, think about the newly unemployed. Their spending habits change. Maybe I'm not going to go shop for furniture. I'm not going to go out for fancy dinners. I'm not going to go and go buy clothes as often. So that clothing store, that furniture store, the restaurants, they feel the pinch and they let people go. And then the cycle perpetuates itself. And that's why you got this big surge up in unemployment and you get in a recession, just like we're going to have now. And people right now are living off their credit cards, folks. Take a look. They were living off their credit cards and then we hit a recession. And then we got all the stimmy money, right? And we couldn't even buy because things were shut down. So we paid off our credit cards. But now look, we've not only passed it, we're at a record high. We've never been like this. People are living on their credit cards. Maybe this little move lower means they're maxing them out, and then you're going to really hit hard on the recession. So why do we care about a recession? Because mortgage rates go down. Take a look at the last several recessions for the last 60 years. Rates go down, 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 rates go down. The 4%, 5%, 2%, 1%, 1%. Can mortgage rates go from 6 3/4 to 5%? Yes, 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 and yes. You're going to see lower rates, folks. What about real estate? Is that going to crush the housing market? No. Look at the Case-Shiller Home Price Index. The Case-Shiller Home Price Index is the best resource we have for home prices. The last 9 recessions, home values went up and went up before, during, and after 8 out of 9 times. Only one time it didn't. It wasn't the recession that caused the housing bubble. It was the housing bubble that caused the recession. Now, this is a big hot point. If you Google most search terms, it's recession, it's housing bubble. So what we need to do is we need to really take a deep dive here, because I need you to understand this. Pay close attention. Yes, it is true. In 2006, it was fog up a mirror and you got a mortgage. Yeah, no income, no asset, no job, 580 FICO, nothing down, investment property. It was ridiculous. Okay. Can you do that today? No. So we don't have that. That's number one. But at its core, like anything else, it's supply and demand. You measure supply by builders completing homes, putting it on the market. It's not somebody selling their home because they got to live someplace else. So new supply of homes, that's your supply. Demand is by household formations. What's a household formation? Mom, dad, and a kid live in a household. There comes a point in time where that kid goes and they want to move out and get their own place, right? In the US, on average, that's age 33. So if that kid reaches age 33, like on an average, and moves out and gets their own place, you still got the same family, mom, dad, and a kid, but now they got 2 households instead of 1. Think about that, okay? So that's how you form a household. They formed an additional household. So what the heck happened in 2006? And more importantly, if we understand it, we will know, are we in a housing bubble today? Is it going to happen again today? Because that's the explanation. Because so many people that just say, oh, home prices went up. Oh, it's a housing bubble. It's a housing bubble. They don't understand it. Let's pay close attention. The blue lines, that's household formations, like I just explained. The gold bars, that's builders completing homes. In 2006, look what happened here. Builders built more homes than they ever built, including today, not even close. But households dropped off a cliff. Why the heck did they drop off a cliff? Why were there so many fewer 33-year-olds? The reason is because if you go back, that 33-year-old was born in 1973. In 1973, birth rates dropped off a cliff, stayed low, went up. 33 years later, household formations dropped off a cliff, stayed low, went up. It's a hand in glove. It has to be because these people were born and they're coming. There's a reason for this. So I'm just going to give you the reason. I'm not for, I'm not against, I'm not political, but abortions were legalized, so less people were born, okay? So let's understand that. Now, where's today's 33-year-old? Right here. What's going to happen? More are coming. More households are coming, and we have fewer of these homes being built. You want to know why the housing market's so hot? Because you got 6 years of more demand than supply. That's why there's very low inventory. So understand it. Right now in the US, we're forming about 1.7 million households, but something funny happened in the last 2 months that dropped. Why? Because in the last 2 months, I mean, when you consider this is September, October, interest rates went to 7%. So that kid's living at home a little bit longer. Okay. They got sticker shock. But when rates drop down to 5, which they will, that kid's moving out. So we have to understand we will resume 1.7 million. Meanwhile, builders are putting up 1.4 million. About 100,000 homes have to get destroyed annually because they're aging. So when you get 1.3 is where we are now, net new, it's balanced. That's why inventory is not growing. It's not dropping. So when we take a look at this and you say, well, when rates go to 5, builders aren't going to move from this 1.3 because they're not going to do it in advance. They learned their lesson from 2006 to 2009. Now you got an extra 400,000 people looking for homes that want them. What's going to happen? What's going to happen to prices? Well, you tell me what happens. You've seen it before. I hope it's not crazy. I hope we just get 4 or 5% appreciation, but you're going to get at least that. But not according to the people in the media, right? You know, the Gary V's of the world, don't buy a home, buy a Lamborghini instead. The housing market's crashing. Grant Cardone, Diana Olick, Patrick Bet-David. You know, Patrick Bet-David, we're going to 10% mortgage rates, and there's a big housing bubble. Whatever their agenda is, they're trying to sell fear. Okay, they're not trying to tell you what the real deal is, because good news, like I'm telling you, does not sell. Sex sells and fear sells. So you're being hit with fear porn, and nobody's better than that than Diana Olick. She's the queen of fear porn. Yep. So what she's been doing for the last 8 years is telling you don't buy a home and rent. Could you imagine for 8 years if you listen to this woman? Okay, life-changing money. So what did she say? Good news was we could pull up the internet and just get a handful of the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of poisonous negative stories that she's been feeding. In 2015, over 7 years ago, she said, hey, we're in a housing bubble bigger than 2006. She said this over 7 years ago, and home prices have gone nothing but up. If you didn't buy that $300,000 home, you missed out on $15,000 that year. The next year, instead of saying, I'm sorry, she says, hey, we're in a new housing bubble. Every year, we're in another housing bubble, every single year. She's just hoping that one of these years she hits. In 2017, she says home ownership doesn't build wealth. Can you name one person who didn't build wealth? And home values went up again. Then she said in 2018, it's better to rent than to buy in today's housing market. Oh, really? Can you tell me the one person that says, thank goodness I've been renting for the past 4+ years. I'm so happy I did that, right? Everyone's made money on it, except if you listen to Diana Olick. Then in the middle of 2019, big story coming out. Don't buy a home, she says, until you listen to Diana Olick's feature story. There's about to be a shift, and the housing market's going to shift in a bad way. It didn't shift in a bad way. Home values went up. And then at the end of 2019, she gave her forecast for 2020. Guess what she said? Take a wild guess. Next year's going to be hard on the housing market. Well, she missed it again because home values went up big time. And then 16 months ago, she said, the housing boom's over. Really? We're up 18% then. We're up 13% in the last 12 months. If you listen to this woman, she cost you $500,000 on a $300,000 home, life-changing money. It needs to be you, not them. Look, why isn't it a housing bubble? In 2007, there were 4 million units for sale. Today, there's 1.2 million units for sale. But what about this? Patrick, Bet David, Diana Olick, they show this when they say, look at inventory, look at inventory. It's growing so fast, it's very dangerous. If you look at this inventory, you see April, May, June, July, and inventory went up. So you might say, oh my gosh, that's bad, right? Except they love to just show you this. They don't want to show you a longer term view to give you perspective. What if I showed you instead of 1 year, the same chart, but 10 years? Here's this chart, okay? Here's this year, this chart. But now let's look at the last 9 years too. Do you see a pattern?
Yep.
Yeah, of course you do. Why? Remember when you were a kid, if a new kid came into class, this is tough enough because kids can be mean, tough on friendships, tough on them. They're going to get picked on. Parents don't want that. But the real thing too is curriculum. No two teachers teach the same way in our country. They don't teach the same stuff. They don't teach in the same time frame. They do it school by school by school. They do their own deal. So if the kid comes in the middle of the school year, toughen up with the friendship thing and getting picked on, but now they're going to get confused on curriculum, so their grades are going to suffer. So parents say, hey, you know what? I want my kid to start at the beginning of the school year. I got to be in my home when? June, July, or August, which means when do I have to sell my home to get rid of? When? You know when. April, May, June, July. April, May, June, July. This was a COVID year. April, May, June, July. Again. There's a reason for it, team. Okay, you just have to understand it so you can explain it. So when people show you this garbage, you can refute it because that's all it is. It's garbage. Now, how about inventory? I told you there's 1.22 million units, but you know what's included in that? Under contract. That's off the market. You can't buy a home that's under contract that's closing next week. Okay. So in this country of 340 million people, there's 754,000 units for sale. By the way, we got 30 million more people in the US than the last housing bubble. And there's only 754,000 homes available. Total inventory has gone from 4 million to 1.2 million. And here's the way it's gone with active listings. Now, somebody's going to say, well, active listings are up from last year. Yeah, they are. From the lowest level in history, they're up. But this is 3.5%. This is 7%. So sure, it's up a little, but compare it to any other time in history, listings are way down. They're half of what they were in a normal market. It's a tight inventory environment. Oh no, look at this, CBS Market Watch, dramatic increase. Foreclosure filings are up more than 150%. Are they lying? They're not lying. It is up 150%, but up 150% from last year when you couldn't do foreclosures for most of the year because there was a moratorium. Even from 2020, when you couldn't do foreclosures for a lot of the year, we're still lower than that. A normal year, we're down 60%, but that doesn't sell. That's not fear porn. They're not going to give you that. Down 90%? No, good news doesn't sell. 90% from 2010. It's because people have money in their homes. In 2008, I only had 19% equity, 81 LTV. Today, 58% equity, 42 LTV. Okay, there's a big one, affordability. Follow carefully because this is an important one. Last year, if I needed a mortgage of $400,000 to buy a home, I can get 3.5%. My payment's $1,800. Fannie Mae, this is not qualifying income. This is what Fannie Mae tells us the average income was. About 2 income earners earning $50,000 a year or $9,000 a month in household income. Now, this year, things have changed. In the last 12 months, 13% appreciation. So I'm going to borrow 13% more. So instead of 400, 452, 7%, let's say. I know it's a little less than that, but let's just say 7%. $3,000 is my payment now. It's up $1,200 a month. And that's where the media stops. Oh, it's just not affordable. But 1 second here, team. The income went up. Fortunately, we got good data from ADP. ADP measures 25 million payroll records. And they told us if you stayed at your job, your income went up 7.7%. If you switched, it went up 15%. The average between the two, because more people stay than switch, is 9%. So your income kind of cut into this a lot. It's bad, but not that bad. But hold on, I want to be fair here because you pay more for gas, food, and services. And this is the market we have now. Why is it slow right now? Here's why. because my payments went up $1,400 and my income went up $800. And I got a little bit of deer in the headlights. I'm a little bit stymied. But team, it's up to us to see the future before it becomes obvious and see beyond the headlights. Will we stay here for a long time? Well, I know the rate can come down, but even if the rate stayed at 7, my income's going up next year. And if we listen to ADP and it goes up 7.7%, I've actually made it more affordable next year than it was in 2021. Wow. But hold on a second. Rates are going to come down. I believe it. I know it. And when rates get to 5%, then it's actually much more affordable this year than it was last year. When do you want to take that opportunity? Do you want to jump on this opportunity after prices go up? Or do you want to get in on the ground floor? Why do so many people miss it? Because they can't see it, because the media is filling your head with poison and no one can explain it. But now you can. Our forecast is for low single-digit appreciation and rents are going to continue to rise. 8% on renewals. This sets up the most perfect opportunity in housing right now. What's the perfect opportunity? Imagine a $500,000 purchase with an 80 LTV. Last year, I had to give you $50,000 over asking price. I couldn't even get a home inspection. But now it's called normal. I can negotiate a little bit. If I could only negotiate 2% on that, that's $10,000. Now, most people take that $10,000 and say, okay, great. But not your client, because you're a lot smarter. You're going to show that client how mathematically it is better off to take a 2-1 buy down or a permanent buy down. Mathematically better. Let me show you something. You do a 2-1 buy down, it costs $9,300. You take the other $677 towards your closing costs because the seller doesn't care. They're giving you $10,000 one way or another. It's no difference to them. But now you save that customer $514 a month this year. And next year you do the refinance, but wait a second. You don't got to pay for it because you get the unused portion of your buy down refunded to the borrower. And they use that to pay for their refinance. So think about this. I get the home I want, a home of my dreams today. I get it at a discount today. I get the rate I want today. I refinance to keep that rate next year for free. And then when everybody jumps into the market in a low inventory environment and prices go up, I enjoy the profits instead of chasing it because I got in on the ground floor. This is the definition of an opportunity. Do you see this opportunity? Because you got to show it to your customer because they're not seeing it. So if somebody's out there saying, oh, I want to pay 0 points and I want to take the $10,000 and they got a better rate than you show them right in MBS Highway. This is the only tool that does this. The lowest payment. What is the lowest payment? Well, for the first 3 years, it's the 2-1 buy down. Then forever, it's a permanent buy down. So do whatever you want, but don't take the price break. So you might say, okay, Barry, but they owe a lower amount on their mortgage. You're right. So when would that come into play? Not in the first year and a half, because you have an unused portion of the buy down and lower payment. So that's cheaper for the first year and a half. Then out of 30 years, the only 1 year that a price break would be better would be these 12 months between 1.5 and 2.5 years. After that, forever, after 2.5 years, the permanent buy down is better for the remaining 2.5 to 30 years. So in no case should they take a 0-point loan with a price break. You get the seller to give you that same amount price break, and you either apply it towards what I'd suggest, the 2-1 buy down, because I know you're going to refinance for free because you're going to use the unused portion to a lower rate, or you can get a great deal on a permanent buy down. You know that. You can apply those 2.5 or 3 points to the permanent buy down and get a much lower rate that you can enjoy today into the future if you don't think rates are going to come down that much. But in no case should you pay 0 points and a price break. You either pay 2.5 or 3 points in a permanent. You're not paying them anyway. The seller's paying it, or put it to the buy down. And this tool shows you that mathematically it's better. What a perfect opportunity, because incomes are increasing. Inventory is already tight. Rates are dropping. You unleash these buyers into a tight inventory environment and you push prices higher. Do you want to buy after prices go up or while you can get a discount? You tell me. Oh, maybe I should rent and sit it out, right? $400,000 purchase price, 10% down. Let's pick 7%. They're going to be there for 9 years. Let's say they never refinance. They keep 7% for the whole 9 years. Let's throw all the negatives. You never refi. Property taxes go up. You got repair costs that you wouldn't have as a renter. You got a cost to sell. You wouldn't have that as a renter. And you do get appreciation. So for the last 63 years, it's been 4.75% across the US. Let's just go with that. If I rent, I'm going to pay $3,000 a month for a $400,000 property. The national average, they're going up 8%. Let's say they only go up at 6%. Is it better to buy or rent? You tell me. I'm paying $3,500 a month to buy, $3,000 a month to rent. No brainer. Rent's cheaper, right? By the 4th year, your rent's gone up more than the payment. And that's assuming you never refinance the 7%. But take a look over the 9 years. You're $33,000 cheaper buying than renting. Cheaper to buy than rent. But wait a second. It's much better than that. Because when you make your principal and interest payment, the interest goes to the lender. Who gets the principal? Do you explain this? Look, imagine I got cash in my left-hand pocket. I take it out of my left-hand pocket. I put it in my right-hand pocket. Is it still my cash? Is it still my? Of course. When you're about to write the check to the mortgage company, this money is sitting in your checking account, the principal portion. When your lender cashes it, it's now an equity in your home. Is it still your money? Yes, of course. It's just in a different location. And it's a lot. It's $44,000. How much cheaper is it to buy than rent? It's $77,000 from a cash flow perspective, cheaper to buy than rent. And it's much more if you refinance to a lower rate next year, which you will do. You'd have to be crazy not to, but that doesn't even take into consideration appreciation. Appreciation, 4.75%. How much does that amount to? It's hard to do in your head. 4.75% times 9 years compounded on $400,000. How much is that? That's why you have to show it. Albert Einstein said it's the 8th wonder of the world, and it's life-changing money. It's $207,000, folks. Now, there's a cost to sell the home. Let's take that into consideration based on the future value, but you do get a tax benefit. How much better is it to buy than rent? $250,000 over the 9-year period. It's a lot, which well over $300,000 if you refinance the 7% down to 5%. But take a look at this. Look, I tell the customer this: if you're going to be in their home less than a year, rent. But if you're going to be there more than a year, why would you not buy this home? Why would you throw this money away? Why would this not be in every open house? If you're a real estate agent, this has to be. I speak to a lot of realtors. As soon as I see this, they need it in every open house. They need it not only in every open house, but in every listing presentation that they do. Why would you not have this in every listing presentation to show how you're going to market that house and win that listing? You guys have to show it to them. How long does it take you to pull this up? Like 4 seconds, literally. Net worth is an important one, folks. We all want a big net worth, right? All of our assets minus all our liabilities is net worth. Kiplinger's did a big story on this 2 months ago. If you want to be in the top 1% in the United States for net worth, you know what your net worth has to be? $10.8 million. It's a big number. Okay, how about the top 2%? Top 2%, that's a real exclusive club there. $2.5 million. How about the top 5%? Pretty rarefied air there. $1 million. Top 10%, $800,000, and you're in the top 10%, man. That's pretty high up there. How about the top half? You need $500,000. So while this is very interesting, the best part about this Kiplinger story that came out to tell you this was, where did this money come from? On average, 2/3 of all net worth. You know where it came from? You guessed it, home equity. Guess what? You're not going to be here if you're a renter. You're not going to get rich renting. You got to be in the real estate game. You need to show your customers that you're going to create wealth for them. Now, investment property will even create more wealth. But the problem with this is that nobody knows how to analyze it. I scoured. You can look all over. There is no good tool to analyze investment property, which is why we created it. We're the only one who has it. And it's important because do you know that 1 out of every 6 transactions is an investment property? Are you getting your fair share? As your real estate agent, that you're helping getting their fair share? 1 out of every 6. Here's an example. 500 purchase price, 75 LTVs, a 375 mortgage, 7% and 1 point on a 30-year fixed. They're going to be in the home for 10 years. Let's take into consideration all the costs, buying costs, repairing costs, the taxes going up, and the cost to sell. Now, the forecast for the next 10 years is 5.4% appreciation, so we'll go with that. Now, you can rent this $500,000 home conservatively, $3,500 a month, while rents are going up at 8%. They only go up at 6%. And let's put a vacancy factor of 4%, so we got that. First year, you lose money. But over 10 years, you're making lots of money. You're going to make a 54% cash-on-cash return. But the real money comes in appreciation and amortization. And this is the sheet that you need to see. This is the magic sheet. Income, $531 from rents after vacancy. Appreciation, add that. You've got $883,000. Minus your expenses for interest, property taxes, insurance, repairs, closing costs to buy and sell. And you got $468,000 in cost. But it gives you a profit of $415,000. Your investment was $125,000. So your return on investment, it's a whopping 332%. What's your compounded annual rate of return? 15.8%. And Ryan, you know this. If you're a manager, fund manager, money manager, Fidelity, you get 15% a year. They put you in the Hall of Fame. Okay. This needs to be in every open house and every listing because that's how you're going to market. You know what else? An AVM. Why? How could you do a listing appointment? How could you do an open house with no AVM? How could you not have an appraisal? What are you going to come up with the numbers out of your ass? At least you've got an appraisal. Okay. And it takes you 3 seconds on MBS Highway to pull it up. Stay away from Zillow because they'll hawk your clients. It's in the MB estimate. You not only see your property, but the whole market, every home in the neighborhood. You show them, this is why I want to list it at this price. You show them, here's all your comps. You do the work for the realtor. Why is this not in every open house and in every listing appointment to be more professional? It boggles the mind. Along with why would you never use a real estate report card? I would never do an open house. I would never do a listing appointment if I'm a realtor without this. And you could provide this in seconds. Help that realtor get the listing, help the realtor sell the home. Here's all the trends. Here's historic appreciation. Here's where it is. If you buy this home, here's how much I'm going to make in the next 5 years. That's a pretty damn good selling feature. Here's why. Because you're going to have household formations of this amount, but builders are only putting up this amount. Inventory's tight. Here's your demographics. Look how young this market is. Here's what you're looking at for renters. Here's the unemployment rate. Your income's double the market. Here's your job growth. Here's your affordability. Everything you want to see on one piece of paper. Put your picture on everything, guys. Co-branded with the realtor. Your realtor needs you today more than ever. Help them get more listings and help them sell those listings by showing what people need to see, that there's an opportunity. By the way, we've been calling the market pretty freaking good. Those of you that are on MBS Highway, you know that. And you guys got like the sweetest deal in the world. You can just get $140 off the price. Instead of spending $200 a month like most people do, you guys get it for $59.95. It's pre-tax and payroll deductions. For goodness sakes, what does it come out to? $1 a day out of your pocket? How much does it cost you to lose a loan? Please, please, just send Santhi.Natalia@movement.com to sign up. Just copy that. Take a picture of it with your phone. If you're not a member, you're crazy. Just sign up, for goodness sakes. Santhi.Natalia@movement.com. Sign up for $59 a month. You know, Warren Buffett said, you want to be greedy when others are fearful. And Sir John Templeton, who I think is the best investor in the world, said the time of maximum pessimism is the best time to buy. Guess what today is, folks? Maximum pessimism. This is the opportunity you've been waiting for. This is it. I know about opportunity. I wrote a great book about it. You guys helped me make it a bestseller on Amazon. Money in the Streets. It's all about opportunity. And listen, I know that right now could be a scary time. I know that right now you might have questions. Confidence is such a fleeting and important element. It's all about confidence. You know, you think about, the greatest in sports, okay? A hockey team. They could be like a 500 team, but they get hot. They get confident. The goalie gets hot. They win the Stanley Cup. In football, in baseball, take a 500 team. All of a sudden they get hot at the right time. What do they get? They get confident. You need to have confidence right now, because this market is about to turn in a good way. You got to see beyond what the headlights are shining on. I wanted to take the time to show you today, because first of all, don't you dare get discouraged and don't you dare quit, because it's about to get good right now. This is the time to improve on your personal skills. This is the time to become an expert in your market. This is the time for you to take market share from your competition. You couldn't be at a better spot in the world. The leadership that you have in this company, it's through the roof. There aren't better people in the world that are more supportive of you. You're in a blessed, fortunate spot. And this is Thanksgiving time. So I want to tell you, first of all, I am so thankful for you. I'm so thankful for our friendships. I'm so thankful for you giving me your time. I want to say to you that good times are ahead. God bless you. And thank you for spending this last hour with me. Thank you.
Barry crushed it, man. Usually I like stop and ask questions, but he was on a roll. I wasn't going to interrupt that train. It was awesome, Barry. Most of the questions are simply this, which are good. We can't sit on this content, guys. We can't sit on this math. 10%. Tell me why. Barry just gave you an hour why he believes 5%. Tell me why you got 10%. Oh, you got nothing? That's right. Exactly. So we have to push this content out. Barry, most of the questions are, how can I push this content out? Can I get the slideshow? Can I get the recording? I have an idea, but are we okay to take the recording and share that with our realtors? Okay, because that's what I would do. What else are you going to do? You take a flyer and some rate sheets and go teach a class? Or are you going to hit play and then pause and go, what Barry means is this? and let Barry be the subject matter expert, but then pause and you make yourself the subject matter expert. I would be doing that times 100 right now versus giving out cookies and rate sheets, but that's just me. Barry, I love you,
So
man.
that's what
You
you have to
crushed
do.
it.
And in addition to that, team, what I want you to do is I want you to maybe take this recording, go over it a few times. Now, in MBS Highway, a lot of the slides are there. And in the daily updates, please make sure you watch the daily update every day. It is so well worth the 6 or 7 minutes in your future. Okay, please do that. Okay, make it just a daily discipline that there's no negotiation on. Okay, just do it. And when you do, this will be something that it's not going to come from me. It's going to come from you because you own it. I don't want you to repeat it. I want you to own it. Okay. Yes, CMA is a great thing. And if you haven't done it, you should do it because that'll really, really help you. But at least watch the daily updates. And then what you'll be able to do is you'll be able to see this stuff coming and you'll be able to know what I'm going to say because you'll be on top of it. That's my goal. My goal isn't that you're dependent on me. My goal is that you know this just as well as I do. And it's all out there for you. We just spelled it out. There's no secrets. I just told you exactly the same things we look at so that you can do it on your own. Just study it. Nobody comes out of the womb and understands CPI. Okay. These are all learned activities. Everybody learns this stuff. Focus on it. Now's the time for you to get better, sharpen yourself, sharpen your skills, and take advantage of this market that's about to hit.
Yeah,
20 years
Barry.
later, guys, I start the day with Barry. And I started 20 years ago with Barry and still 20 years later. I don't know how you guys don't start the day with Barry. Mike's going to tease a little bit of a deal that we got coming and even a subsequent call that I think is going to be even bigger. We had 600 or 700 people on this call, Mike. And I think the call that you're going to talk about may be a couple thousand.
Yeah, well, first of all, wow. Barry, for years and years, and I've been so fortunate, growing up in Jersey with you and, having access to you my whole mortgage career. You just continue to bring it. And team, I remember I say this every call, and it's just something that Barry taught me. He taught me is just be that trusted advisor. And when there's trust built in relationships with your clients, with your realtors, there's nothing better. They'll call you for anything. But I will tell you this, Barry. So I went off screen, but I was here because Casey came in and he was in between meetings. And so he sat down. So all I know is when Casey was here sitting down, we talked about the feds not being able to operate a lemonade stand, rates being at 5%, and fear porn. And but I love it.
That one's trending right now.
So team, as I'm listening to Barry, he says to me, he said this to me just years ago. He's like, hey, how real can I be with your team? And I always say, hey, talk straight. Give them the truth. Tell them what they need to be. I always tell somebody, don't be an asshole. That's somebody that asks you over and over again what you need to do to be successful and then never do it. Don't be that person. What Barry's doing is he's telling you is like, hey, here's the tools. Here's what you need to be going out. Why are you not doing a rent versus own? Like these are 4 seconds to do a flyer. And a lot of people, Barry, ask where to get that. And team, it's really simple. That's why we've been in such an incredible strategic partnership with MBS and Barry for years. So what we talked about, Amy Casey, he was like, yeah, absolutely. Is any new employee that started at Movement in the 3rd and the 4th quarter, because we've had specials before, or any new employee that joins, we have some potential future team members on here, is we'll give you 60 days MBS no cost. So when you've been there, if you were there, so because again, we just know if you have this tool, would Barry say $1 a day? Really? You lose one deal, you're in the hole. So it makes perfect sense. So we're going to put this out there for first 60 days on Movement. Go use the tools, utilize this, because I'm thinking what Barry said, rates in the 5%, being prepared, get these tools and these resources ready. So by the time you go out there, you're an expert and you own it. You're going to say, Barry?
Can I just say one thing? First of all, you guys are incredible. That's so generous of you and, of Casey, of yourself, Jake, Ryan. I want to one up it too. Okay. Because, in the spirit of like, we want to try and help each other even more. And all of you that are listening, when Ryan said, what can we do with our realtors? How about if I do this for you? I will make a commitment. You guys set up the date. Let's get every one of your realtors on, and I'll do this presentation for all your realtors. Let's get 5,000 realtors on.
Yes.
Everybody that you want to do business with, let me give this to them. And then I will tell them for them to take advantage of it. They've got to work with you at Movement. They want to take advantage of it. So I will do that for you because I love you guys. I want you to succeed. I don't want you to quit. I want you to know that things are going to get better. Let's get your realtors excited and know they need to work with you. Okay.
Chat log just exploded, Barry.
Yeah,
We're excited.
So, yeah, we're fired up, and team, I can't wait to do that. I mean, to educate, all our realtor partners, help them. This will help them get more deals. It'll give them confidence out in the market. When you're talking about, hey, their business plan starting to here you go. This is your business plan right here. Sorry, I'm banging my desk. I'm sorry,
You
Jake.
got a note there, Mike. You're not supposed to do that.
Like I do it, Barry. I do have a sticky note that says, "Please don't bang on your desk."
It's passion. It's you got to love the passion. I'm the same way, brother.
I know. Well, listen, guys, we're going to wrap this up. But again, take advantage of the free opportunity. We're going to get in the next couple of weeks, we're going to get this scheduled. We'll get with Barry and his team. We'll get this date set out so we can promote it out to your partners and everybody out there. Barry, thank you so much. Again,
Thank you
for you reaching out to us saying, hey, I want to help the team. It means the world to us. And Casey, like I said, we're just so fired up. Ryan, man, thank you for keep pushing us on this and being here, moderating this call. You guys have a great week. Have a great Thanksgiving. We appreciate all of you.
See you.